Hey everybody, hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the latest edition of Notre Dame Daily, of course brought to you by FanArch. I'm Pete Mulroy, and coming off yesterday's show, let's begin with something a bit more upbeat and positive, shall we, other than Notre Dame's lackadaisical Saturday afternoon victory over Boston College. And that something is the play of quarterback C.J. Carr. The first-year starter, yes, with some bumps along the way, we know that has quickly grown into the type of playmaker and leader any program would love to have from its quarterback. And while the Irish certainly were not at their best again this past Saturday in a 15-point win over BC, Carr showed incredible bounce-back ability. After not performing, as we know, at the top of his game 2 weeks back in a home win against the Trojans of USC, the Michigan native recovered in a big way this past weekend, threw for just under 300 yards and 2 scores while proving that he not only possesses that incredible talent, but short-term memory from any negatives and being able to dismiss those as such. And this was announced late last week, actually, before the BC game. Carr has earned his way for the total body of work. Selection to the Davey O'Brien quarterback class of 2025. What does that mean? Well, the honor now puts Carr in a position to win the 25 Davey O'Brien Award as one of the final candidates. And that award, of course, is given to the top quarterback in all of America each year. Through 8 games this season, Carr's led the Irish to a 6-2 record, including an ongoing streak of 6 consecutive wins, with over 2,000 yards through the air to go along with 16 touchdowns against just 4 interceptions. He has solidified his place as not only one of the top first-year starting signal callers, but in the eyes of many, including yours truly, one of the top overall quarterbacks in the country. I don't think that's too much of a stretch. He's eclipsed 250 yards passing in half of Notre Dame's games this season, with the Irish posting a 3-1 mark when he does that. The only loss was week 2 by 1 to A&M at home. Statistically, Carr is top 10 amongst all quarterbacks in passing efficiency, passing yards per completion, and yards per attempt. Again, that's not amongst just freshman quarterbacks. It's nationally overall. Pretty impressive stuff from a kid who's just started 8 games in his collegiate career. And looking ahead, he's going to have a golden opportunity to further cement himself as one of the nation's best. If the Irish are going to continue to take care of business by racking up wins in their 4 remaining regular season games, the play of C.J. Carr is going to be a major reason for that success. Come November 29th, the day Notre Dame wraps the regular season with a trip to Stanford, the hope is that Carr is able to lead the Gold and Blue back to the college football playoff. He has done everything that you could possibly ask of him. And you've had some bumps and bruises, as you traditionally do with all freshmen, but they seem to be magnified, obviously, at the most important position on the offense, the quarterback spot. But C.J. Carr has been absolutely outstanding and really just a breath of fresh air from that quarterback position. The Irish have had some good ones, but I think we're starting to see what the now, the present, and the future really are going to look like. And up next, you talk about what's coming up quickly down the road. A Navy squad, and with 4 games remaining in the season, Notre Dame knows what it needs to do. Win out. And while they're going to be favored in each of their remaining games against Navy this Saturday, Pitt November 15th on the road, home the week after that for Syracuse, and on the 29th, that trip to Palo Alto for Stanford to wrap the campaign, Notre Dame, they know they're not in a position to underestimate any opponent. We saw that a bit this weekend, where the Irish played some fairly flat football for stretches of the 60-minute game. Do that against a 7-1 Navy squad coming off its first loss of the season, and you could run into a problem. And when you take a look at this Navy team, the resume doesn't stand out. That does not mean, however, that the midshipmen are not a talented bunch. They are. Wins over VMI, UAB, Tulsa, coupled with close victories over, less than spectacular Rice, Air Force, and Temple squads, obviously won't jump off the page. But Navy has done a job in 7 of 8 games this season, minus last week's loss to a very good, if you haven't seen them, they are, North Texas team. From an individual talent perspective, their quarterback, Blythe Horvath, who we've known well the last couple of years, has had a tremendous career in Annapolis, as his ability to both run the ball and throw it effectively make him a threat for literally the entire time the Middies have the football. Through 8 games, the senior, it's amazing these seniors, feels like he's been around forever, has thrown for over 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns while rushing for another 926 and an additional 13 rushing touchdowns. His ability to command the offense has really stood out over the course of his career, and he's been one of the most statistically productive quarterbacks in a strong history of Naval Academy signal callers. Eli Heidenreich on the outside is his top pass catcher, 575 and 4 scores. He leads the rest of his pass catching teammates by a wide margin. When you flip to the other side of the ball, and we'll get into the intricacies as the week continues, but the midshipmen are led by a damn good 1-2 punch at linebacker. Mark Anthony Parker, Luke Paris have combined for 127 tackles, 3 sacks, a pick, 2 forced fumbles. So Carr and the Irish offense know what they're going to need to do, and they're going to need to know where Parker and Pierce are on the field come Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern Time. Add in solid play up front by tackles Landon Robinson, Griffin Willis. They have 8 sacks combined, and Navy certainly has a solid core of defensive talent, but they are susceptible to the pass. The total defensive ranked them 65th in America. Navy is also 111th in passing yards allowed per game as they give up over 253 via air to opponents. This is certainly an area Carr and company will look to and should look to exploit come Saturday night. From a run defense perspective, Navy's only given up a respectable $126 per game, but they haven't seen as talented a backfield as they'll see Saturday night. I think that's fair. And while opportunities very well could exist from a Notre Dame standpoint to rattle off big plays and put up points, one thing is for sure. Individual talent on both sides of the ball, Navy has, they always have it. This time around, especially with the beatdown Notre Dame gave Navy last year in New Jersey, added chip on the Academy shoulders coming back to South Bend, Notre Dame is going to need to come ready to play for this one. You sort of try to put, for me, a little less emphasis on Navy's body of work to this point. They come in 7-1. Last year when they played Notre Dame at MetLife Stadium, they went in undefeated. Notre Dame pounded them. I don't think this is going to be a complete and utter beatdown. I don't expect that to happen. I mean, Notre Dame is the better team, but you come out flat like you did last week and have that stretch of flatness, if I can use that adjective, that you did up in Chestnut Hill. Navy's a better football team than Boston College. You run into a problem. So the Irish know they have to come ready to play. And Marcus Freeman, Mike Denbrock, Chris Ash, Mike Mickens got to get their respective groups ready to go. And that starts at the top with Coach Freeman. But when you really talk about what Navy wants to do, they want to play physical on defense. They've had some problem over the top defensively, as per the rankings, 111th in pass defense. But on the offensive side of the ball, as good as Horvath can be moving outside the pocket and putting the ball down the field through the air, their bread and butter, their offense is built around the run game. Whether it was Paul Johnson, Ken Niumatalolo, or now Brian Newberry as head coach, the 3 most recent guys at the helm, the middies want to pound the rock over and over. This season, they lead the nation in rushing offense, moving the chains via the grounds a whopping 348 times, a total of 2,500 yards on the ground. On a per-game basis, folks, that's 317.2 rush yards per game average, which is 47 yards more than the number 2 ranked rushing unit in the country, which belongs to the Air Force Falcons. That ground attack, led by Horvath and Alex Texa, who's a good-looking running back, is a physical unit that relies on consistency from the O-line, deception in schematics and play calling, and, of course, protecting the football. In last weekend's 31-17 loss to North Texas, Navy got down early and didn't do enough to recover. You're getting a big hole like that, down 18 rather quickly. They couldn't come back in the game. They did, however, amass 311 on the ground with 2 touchdowns. Horvath had a $112 of those on 19 touches, with Texa adding 59 yards on 10 carries. When the run game is rolling, Navy is tough to stop. Doesn't matter who they're playing. That being said, this is the best defense they'll see this season, and an Irish unit that has been a more complete, cohesive force across the past 6 games. And statistically, if you look at it where Notre Dame was week 2, 3, now where they are, ranking up at higher those boards in total team defense, run defense, passing defense, defense efficiency, and points allowed, now giving up an average of less than 20 per game to opponents. It's been a complete workover for the Notre Dame defense in a positive tone. Navy is walking right into that. The Irish know the Navy's run game, stopping it is no easy task. But given the recent play from the Irish up front and the protection from the back end of the D, Notre Dame certainly got the talent to shut it down. Now, again, it all comes down to communication coach to player, and execution on the part of the players. Knowing your assignments, getting to them, you know what you're going to see in Navy with that triple option from a deception standpoint, but Horvath can tuck that ball and take off, or he can hide and play action and drop back and throw it down the field. You've got to be ready. I think they will be, especially coming off a very lackluster and lackadaisical performance in a win last week, 25-10 over Boston College. I just want to wrap today with a reminder again that the first edition of the 25-26 college football rankings, college football playoff rankings, is going to be released Tuesday evening. You got a handful of teams that are going to be sitting right there, hoping they land in favorable position for the initial unveiling. From a Notre Dame perspective, I do think it's fair to believe the Irish wind up in the top 10 of the Tuesday unveiling, though that number could be lower because it really depends on how the committee's going to view Miami's Week 1 win over the Irish, especially now that both teams have matching 6-2 records. Personally, I don't believe that this committee is going to have the Hurricanes ahead of the Irish, especially with the way Miami's looked in recent weeks. At the top, I suppose it is fair to believe that Indiana should be perhaps the number one team in the first unveiling, though I ultimately believe that that's going to go to current AP number one, Ohio State. Either way, both of those teams have been playing phenomenal football. Ohio State just looks like a freight train. Overall, we still have the rest of the month of November to sort things out, but you want to see the Irish inside that top 12 of the first CFP rankings because it would let everybody know that this committee right now thinks there's enough there to have the Irish as a would-be playoff team. Continue to stack wins and win out, and the Irish should be able to play their way into the field of 12 for the second straight season. That's obviously not a stretch. Notre Dame knows what's in front of itself. Now you just got to continue to take care of business. It starts Saturday again, right? You had 5 games left to start the month of November. You knocked one off, albeit in unspectacular fashion, November 1st at BC. Now you come back home. Crowd's going to be ready to roll. Night game, rival game, Navy. Always special for non-football reasons, as we know. More on that later in the week. But now you've knocked off one. You got 4 left to go. You got to go WWWW, get the job done. A 10-2 Notre Dame team should be in the CFP. If they're in the top 12 of the rankings come Tuesday night, that is a great sign for the Irish. With that being said, I hope you have a great remainder of your day. I'll see you all tomorrow. And as always, go Irish.